Video games are full of terrifying enemies, but most of them have the good manners to face you in a fair fight. Believe it or not, that is fair by Dark Souls standards. Much worse, however, are the games with enemies who hunt you, stalking you relentlessly throughout the game, striking terror into your heart whenever they show their usually invincible faces. No, you have it. I didn't want to go over there anyway. Watch on for 7 terrifying video games that hunted you constantly, and beware spoilers for the following.
Resident Evil is a series that loves to relentlessly attack you with things like tall vampire ladies,
so we finally meet,
experimental tentacled bioweapons with rocket launchers, and of course the inexorable passage of time when you realise that the original game came out 28 years ago. 28!
Stop it! Don't open that door!
All that time and not a single coherent plot. The genesis of this relentlessly stalky gameplay, however, came in 1998's Resident Evil 2, with the introduction of the trench-coated, hat-wearing, grey-faced tyrant known as Mr. X. From this point in the game onwards, Mr. X is on your ass with the perseverance of a student loan officer, and what makes his hunting you even scarier is the fact that he never gets up to a pace faster than a brisk walk. This relentless focus and almost laid-back attitude is somehow much worse than if he were sprinting at you the whole time, and it makes the moments where he does do something unexpected, like for example bursting through a wall while you're trying to do a bullshit torch puzzle, way scarier. I was going to say that Mr. X was the scariest enemy that hunts you constantly in Resident Evil history, but then I remembered the remake of the original had one wearing a dynamite vest. So I mean, it's close.
I estimate a 99% probability of death if an enemy captures you. There may be a very small opportunity to escape, but exploiting this window will be virtually impossible. The E.M.M.I are immune to your current weapons. You lack the unique energy used to defeat the first E.M.M.I. Your only option now is to evade capture and find an exit. Your highest priority in an E.M.M.I zone should be simply to survive.
Metroid Dread is not a game that lacks challenge. Whether you're trying to survive one of its punishing boss battles, or just remember which section exactly on this huge-ass map you were in 4 hours ago when you saw that weird-coloured wall you could probably get through now. Time to jump into every wall in the game in order, I guess. Perhaps the biggest challenge of all in Metroid Dread, however, comes in the form of E.M.M.Is, uniquely hardcore, undefeatable robots made by the Galactic Federation that have gone rogue. These E.M.M.Is, short for Extraplanetary Multiform Mobile Identifiers, appear in special areas of the map and initially can't be harmed at all by Samus's gun arm, forcing you to flee for your life. As you progress through the game, more E.M.M.Is will come after you. And while you do upgrade your weapons, allowing you to fight back, the E.M.M.Is upgrade too, allowing them to shrug off your lasers as you desperately try to leg it from something that looks like GLaDOS spliced with a Demogorgon. It doesn't help that the music in these hunt sections is the most stressful thing to enter your ears since your boss at work saying, "Can I have a quick word?" get caught by an E.M.M.I and you're treated to Metroid's first ever insta-death cutscene. Which, honestly, comes as kind of a relief at that point. Now, back to trying to find that wall.
They say in space, no one can hear you scream. Where people definitely can hear you scream, however, is in my living room, and they hear it a lot when I'm playing Alien Isolation because it's absolutely bloody terrifying. The reason it's so terrifying, and this should come as no surprise to anyone who's actually played it, is the fact that you spend almost the entire game being hunted by the Xenomorph, nature's perfect killing machine with knives for hands, acid for blood, several chomping mouths, and a predilection for sneaking around in vents and jumping out when you least expect it. As such, instead of a first-person shooter, Alien Isolation is a first-person hider. You'll spend the majority of your time attempting to evade the single phenomenally deadly alien creature, usually while quietly sobbing and cursing to yourself. You're not totally defenseless. By scavenging, you can cobble together improvised devices to distract or deter the alien, buying you just enough time to escape to the next area, where the whole ordeal can begin again. But it's a nervy balance of being fast but inconspicuous, and the pressure is cranked up throughout the game. Even the save system is scary, requiring you to laboriously boot up a retro emergency kiosk, often when there's an alien looking for lunch nearby. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's less of an emergency now.
$1995 adventure game Clock Tower: The First Fear is the scariest time you can have pointing and clicking outside of doing some online banking towards the end of the month. In it, you play as Jennifer, one of a group of orphans adopted by a reclusive millionaire called Simon Barrow and sent to live in his mansion, the Clock Tower. Unfortunately, the corridors are stalked by a horrifying, murderous creature called Scissorman, a little grey-faced weirdo in a sailor suit brandishing a giant pair of scissors. Hence the name, I assume, unless it's actually pronounced Scissorman, as in an unrelated family name, Brian Scissorman, or what have you. Anyway, Scissorman is a constant threat, wandering around the mansion with a giant pair of garden shears looking for human necks to prune. If you're going to complete the game, you're going to have to endure several near-death brushes with him, and several actual death brushes with him, where the death is thankfully not your own. You're not even safe if you decide to just peace out of the game, get in your car and drive on home. And this is why you always check your backseat for scissor murderers before you set off. Basic safety precautions, people.
Keep pushing forward!
You'd think the scariest part about being in World War I would be, you know, the whole being in World War I thing. And yet, in first-person horror sequel Amnesia: The Bunker, there's something even scarier than trench warfare lurking in the shadows, a creature known only as the Beast. If you have to be in a war zone, then being in a concrete bunker is a good thing. But the bunker in Amnesia: The Bunker is a total nightmare on account of A, the fact that you've been sealed in it by cowardly officers who dynamited the exit to stop whatever is inside getting out, B, it's very poorly lit by not very good generators, and C, oh yeah, there's a horrible monster down here that will kill you if it finds you. To deal with the unreliable lighting, you need to keep the generators fueled, because if you don't, the bunker will be plunged into darkness and the beast will start actively hunting you. In this scenario, the only way to see where you're going is to use a dynamo-powered torch, which does provide some light, with the downside that it makes a lot of noise, which will draw the beast to your location. But hey, you might be thinking, I'm a World War I guy, don't I have a gun or some grenades or something? To which the answer is yes, they basically do f*** all. Weapons can stun the beast for a short time, allowing you to scarper, but as soon as it regains its composure, it's right back to stalking you around the dark bunker, only now you don't have any grenades or bullets. Amazed they managed to find a way to make World War I somehow even worse.
I used the sands themselves to reverse time, making it as if the hourglass was never opened.
The beast, the Dahaka, is the guardian of the timeline. You were supposed to die, so it will catch you and see to it that you meet your fate.
Following up on the successful Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, came 2004's Prince of Persia, Warrior Within, which decided that what Prince of Persia fans were actually into was aggressive goths, which is how we ended up with this.
You bitch!
Imagine the design meeting. Can we goth him up about 80%? Can he be wearing a My Chemical Romance t-shirt? What do you mean historical accuracy? Although the prince may have been going through what was definitely not a phase bomb, the game itself introduced some new elements, most notably the enemy known as the Dahaka, a terrifying time minotaur who pursues you relentlessly throughout the game as punishment for your messing with the Sands of Time. I mean, fair play to the prince, I would be moody too if that thing was constantly following me around.
The Dahaka, it has found me here.
While a lot of the enemies on this list are evil in one way or another, the Dahaka is simply doing its job, which is to ensure that the prince dies so that the timeline can be restored. A sort of walking final destination, if you will. Unfortunately, that doesn't make it any less scary as it smashes through walls, whips out tentacles, and teleports surrounded by clouds of oily black smoke as it tries to catch up to you and smash you flat. And also it just kills whoever's around when it shows up, apparently not concerned with the effect that will have on the timeline. I'm starting to suspect that this is personal. Maybe it's more of a pop-punk fan.
Go now, and don't get caught this time.
Today, Haunting Ground is mostly remembered as a whole game starring that dog that you freed from a trap in Resident Evil 4.
Hey, it's that dog.
Just you and me, buddy, against the world. But Haunting Ground is actually a tense and atmospheric survival horror game in its own right. In it, you play as Fiona, a young woman who wakes up after a car accident to find herself imprisoned in a spooky old castle. Soon enough, you are joined by the aforementioned dog, a white German shepherd called Huey. And you must team up to escape the castle, trying as hard as you can to avoid the various twisted and menacing enemies who are stalking you along the way.
Good boy. Huey!
In many ways, Haunting Ground is Hunting You Constantly the game, as every chapter contains its own headline villain who is scouring the castle grounds trying to find you and put an end to your dog-based shenanigans. First up is Debilitas, a massive groundskeeper who thinks you're one of his dolls and will chase you gleefully around the castle. Once he's finally dealt with, you have to contend with Daniela, an icy maid who knows all your hiding spots and will even attack your dog to draw you out, the monster. After that, you have to deal with Ricardo, a hooded figure with an actual gun. And come on, Haunting Ground, don't you think this is getting a little unfair? Finally, to finish the game, you need to face the mastermind behind all this, a very, very old man named Lorenzo, who you easily push into a rock crusher. Then you remember that this is Haunting Ground and Lorenzo comes back young and basically invincible and with magic punches, and he can teleport now. And if you beat him, he comes back again as a flaming skeleton who can kill you with a single hit if he touches you, which, as escalating a situation goes, is pretty much checkmate. What did we do to deserve this? Apart from pushing an old man into a rock crusher. Yeah, it's probably that, isn't it?
You've been watching a signature 7 things list video from Outside Xbox, and I've been Jane, a signature Jane from Outside Xbox. If you'd like to watch another one, then please let me direct you to this magic floating square here, where you'll find another 7 things list video from Outside Xbox. We make them every single dang week, if you can believe. Or here, there's one from Outside Extra, which is our sister channel. I mean, we did it first, but they do them good too. So check one of those out.